Majo John Madden on location at a big Pemex oil company, the state-run oil company, truck stop, Oxo gas station, and relatively busy truck stop. When the truck started to roll in here an hour ago, I was afraid we were going to end up surrounded by them, but that doesn't look to be the case at about 11 o'clock at night. That's beautiful, huh? They have such great lights. I've told parts of the story of this afternoon and evening in a couple of videos and in a bunch of WhatsApp messages to 3 friends back in the States. But I'm thinking that if I close out with one last final video summarizing the story, maybe I'll be able to get to sleep. So, turn the magnification down so I don't look so huge in the camera. When Magic and I left the hotel this afternoon, we were kind of reconstituted. I had gotten more sleep. I had done a whole lot of research about the local area because I was on a Wi-Fi there. Took a bunch of pictures of what was local. Consulted with the lovely young woman who managed the property in the afternoon. She spoke all Spanish. And I asked her, should I take the mountain route in the direction of Veracruz? I'm inclined to go by the ocean. It's an area where there are essentially no foreign tourists, so these beaches could be sleepy and local and nice. She supported that plan and rattled off very fast Spanish directions, but combined with my handmade maps, I was pretty ready for everything when I hit the road around 5 o'clock. But my truck, which has been behaving really well since Josue worked on it for 13 days and $1,300 a couple months ago, started within a mile fluttering, trying to stall out every time I took my foot off the gas pedal. There's a couple of our local street dogs down there playing, having fun. I think they're the 2 who live there. At one point they tried to harass Magic, and I said, Magic, watch your dad's big stick. I'm going to protect you here. And I yelled at them and drove them away. Magic liked that and hopped into the van, and that's where he is now. On the big Carretera, which some places in the Carretera it's really empty, but this is a big produce packing area, or at least a gathering point where trucks with 6 or 8 or 10 Mexican laborers standing in the back of the pickup truck arrive from the fields and the orchards, avocados, mangoes, limes, all manner of things. And it's a lot of distribution, a lot of big trucks driving through here. At rush hour at 5 o'clock, the road was busy. And my truck began to stall out every time I had to brake. I did some kind of wild passing of places. It was my inner Mexican expressing itself, driving like a Mexican, just to not have to stop, because every time I stopped, my truck died, and all these big Mexican guys in the back of pickup trucks, hot and sweaty from their day of work, they wanted to get home. They didn't like that. And the used semis, which in Mexico are typically double. They'll carry 2 big shipping containers or 2 big oil tanks instead of 1. They did not like it much if I was stopped in front of them, and their horns are very loud. Finally, about 100 yards down the road from here, my car stopped and would not start again. It was fortunately a slight incline down. I was able to push it off to the side of the road. a classic Mexican cowboy named Angel, driving a red hot and red fire engine red colored truck with a big metal grid on the front that allowed him to push me without denting his own bumper down in here. So that was his big contribution, was to get me down in here. His bad contribution was he was so genuinely cool and kind of fluent with English and loved calling me bro, that when I let him convince me that it needed gas, even though I knew it didn't, because the tank read a quarter. Certainly that was not the problem. He said, I listened to your fuel pump, man. I'm a mechanic. It needs gas. So he convinced me to spend my last 160 pesos on gas, which didn't help at all. Only then did we discover that the needle was way over in red on the radiator, probably from me pushing it as hard as I could, using low gears a lot because it wouldn't quit as easily. But he said, I'll come back in 2 hours. We can open up the radiator then and see what needs to have done. So that was the last I saw of him. I bet he found something more exciting to do with his evening. But I got befriended by the property manager, where Angel dropped me off down there. This big building on the left is a deserted restaurant. You can see it says cafeteria or something up there. Yeah, cafeteria. Not been used for how many years, I don't know. The property manager and a helper were working on something in front of that building, and that's where Angel deposited me. He turned out to be a really great, sweet, thoughtful, 60-ish guy who wanted to try speaking English to me, and was pretty good. We talked about this and that over the course of 3 hours while he continued to work on the electrical system or something. But he's also a pretty sad guy. You know, Pemex, I've seen all kinds of hype for Pemex. This is a project of Pemex for the good of all the people of Mexico, especially the poor. I wonder about that, because this guy who's got all this responsibility is poor, and he's a Pemex employee. He can't afford a car. He lives in that deserted restaurant, and he's here 7 days a week. I said, you have to, if we get the car going tomorrow, you got to go to the beach with us. He says, I never leave the property. I work. It's all I do. So, you know, Mexico has a lot of real positive liberation hype about the poor and the workers, but I'm not so sure how much of it is just hype. That maybe they do need another revolution, and there are certainly people arguing for it. So, we don't know. Finally, the car did start after it cooled down, but it's still stalling. Will we get to the beach tomorrow, or will I spend the 2 weeks until I get my next check living at the Pemex station? I spent 13 days at the mechanical compound outside of Victoria, where Josue spent $1,300 American on my car. We've been worse places. There's nice walking right near here. It's actually in a beautiful mountainous area. The whole thing has played out on what is actually a gorgeous highway, and not in the big city part. We're kind of out of that now. And just 15 or 20 miles from the beach. They say there are wonderful beaches out here. Nautla, N-A-U-T-L-A, and Cantinas are the towns. So, Maja John Madden signing off from Veracruz State, and we are outside of the town of Martinez y Torres, was the big market town we just left. Night, folks. Sleep well. I told Luis, my host, I don't want to park too close to the green because that means mosquitoes. It's seeming so far that I have enough pavement around me that I'll be able to sleep. Okay, bye.